Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
All the way from Pensacola, Florida today, we have Americana artist Chad Harvey. Chad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bob. Really glad to be here.
First of all, Pensacola, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, a little bit away from home, but you're originally from Indiana, right?
I grew up in southern Indiana, went to school there, and when I got out of college, from there went to Austin, Texas for about 5 years, and that's kind of where I started playing music and really getting the interest and started writing songs. Went to Nashville and spent about 6 years, and then while I was traveling in Australia for a little vacation, I met my wife, Candace, on a flight back to the States. We actually sat next to each other on the flight, and she's from Pensacola, so that's how I ended up in Pensacola.
When we talk about Americana artists, which really from your bio and the reviews I've seen, in fact, American Songwriter says that Chad Harvey carries on the unique sounds that echo from the heartland. He is a gifted writer with a natural tendency towards a Gibson six-string and a warm Midwestern drawl that helps tell his stories. You can't get any more Americana than that.
Yeah, it's definitely in my blood, that heartland rock and that I grew up with, and then combine that with back in the 90s, I fell in love with what was going on in Texas when I was in Austin and the country music down there, and combining those two, I just, that I'm somewhere in between, and that's kind of, I fall in that Americana genre, and I'll have some songs that are more country and twang, and I'll have some that are more the heartland or heavier rock, everywhere in between. I like it to say a Steve Earle. I used to pick up his records, and he could have a pretty hard, heavy rock song on an album and a bluegrass song on a record. I always loved to have that spectrum of different styles, and that's kind of where I fit, I believe.
When you talk about Steve Earle, obviously you have a new single out called Get a Leg Up, which is actually a John Cougar Mellencamp song, but you've done it in a different vein. But let's talk about what were your musical influences growing up? Who inspired you along with Steve Earle?
In the 80s, I remember when I was just a little kid, listening to Steve Earle's Guitar Town, of course, Mellencamp's Scarecrow record. Grew up in Indiana. It was hard not to be surrounded by that. My dad listened to a lot of older country stuff, which I love, and introduced me to Jerry Jeff Walker and Willie Nelson and Waylon, of course, and then also John Prine. I was listening to John Prine when I was 4 or 5 years old, and a huge John Prine fan. Those are the things I was listening to, growing up. Mellencamp, you talked about my new single, which is a cover of Get a Leg Up. It definitely influenced me through that time, and all that spectrum, from Petty to Steve Earle to Mellencamp, and then on the countryside from Willie Nelson to Jerry Jeff Walker to the folk to the John Prine, a wide variety of things. I never wanted to really not listen. I always wanted to keep my ears open to see what I might like and what I might be influenced by. But those are just a few that really influenced me early on. As I got older, I was introduced to Todd Snider back when his first record came out. I'm still a huge Todd Snider fan, which introduced me to Jack Ingram and all the stuff that was going on in Texas. So, I keep my ears to the ground and keep listening for new stuff to come out. With Isbell, when Jason Isbell started putting out solo records 10 years ago, he was another big influence and has been. And it's just great stuff. So definitely a wide variety of influences that I've had in my life.
When we talk about, obviously, the Nashville sound and the Texas sound, do you feel there's a Midwest sound that's particular to itself? And I think John Cougar Mellencamp might be that perfect example of kind of that heartland America.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think there's a style out there? I don't want to say so genre specific, but do you think there is a style that's not necessarily LA, New York, Nashville, Austin based that might fit within that world of the heartland?
That's an interesting question. I do believe it seems like when years ago there was more than there maybe than there is now, because talking about years ago, there wasn't that Americana kind of genre where you had that mix of country and rock and roll that kind of is one of those aspects or one of those elements of Americana now. I think a lot of people are doing that. There's many more artists doing that sort of thing, like a Jason Isbell. Is it well defined? I think is it well defined as it used to be? I don't know. I think there's more people doing that sort of thing. I think a lot of people listen to the Mellencamps or not that Springsteen was Midwest, but that sort of style and Petty. A lot of people are listening to that as a kids growing up that are now that are making records like that fall into that Americana genre. So I think that somewhere. I do think there's a sound, but I think it has definitely spread out. But I think it's the stories, it's the truth in the lyrics. I think it's definitely the artistic ability of being able to craft your own song, whether it's about yourself, or something you read in the paper, but something true and real and simplistic, with a driving beat behind it.
You were quoted a while back with regards to your Run from the Sound, which is an EP you've released, where you say, I'm writing and performing the stories of my life. Some truth, some lies, but all real American music. Was it your upbringing, or is it just kind of the stories that you have experienced yourself? What influences you to write the songs that you write?
It's definitely always been very much for me, and this is something I'm trying to work on about, I know some of my favorite songwriters can read something in the paper and really write a good story about that. And I have done that some, but a lot of this, it's related to something that I have experienced, and it's always, you definitely want to take that story that you have in your mind and make it interesting to the listener. So that's where, whether it's lies or pushing the truth or whatever, but it's all centered around something that you've experienced, or maybe something that someone else that has experienced, and just to keep it interesting, and keep it, I'm all about simplicity, and I love simple songs that really can catch the attention of a listener, and those are the things I kind of try to stay with. Are
you more of a story song kind of a guy? Do you like to tell a story? Or when you talk about John Cougar Mellencamp and his hits, like Jack and Diane, he always took you on a journey in your mind. You could almost visualize what he was singing about. Is that kind of where you go with your music? And obviously you have, taken one of his songs, Get a Leg Up, and transformed it into your own. But with your own writing, do you like the story song better, or are you looking for something that's the catchy hook, or is there middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's middle ground. I hope that I'm painting a picture to someone, to a listener, that somebody picks up the record, and that's what I try to do. I do like a catchy hook. To me, there is a middle ground of telling the story, having the listener feel like they're in that story, and then also having a hook that's catchy. I mean, that's I think that comes with the background of listening to Mellencamp. But he does have these great stories, but of course he's got a great hooks in all of his songs. Where maybe a John Prine is a great storyteller, and he may have some songs that maybe don't have a great hook, but they're incredibly good, great songs. They're not pop songs. They're just great, well written songs, and I love both of that. And I try to bring both of that in my songwriting and have a little bit of everything.
We're going to take a break, get a word in with one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Chad Harvey. We're going to talk about his new song, Get a Leg Up, why he chose that, and what he's done with it.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, this is Tom Sabella, the creator, founder, and co-producer of the Business Side of Music podcast. It's loyal listeners such as yourself that make our podcast successful. Take the time to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Not only does it contain information on upcoming podcast episodes, but also informative tidbits on the music industry and even bonus items that we give away. All you have to do is sign up at businesssideofmusic.com and we will send you Larry Butler's new singer-songwriter rulebook. That's it. All you have to do is go to businesssideofmusic.com, sign up, and we will send you Larry Butler's new book. Thanks to all our loyal listeners. We love you.
Hey, it's Chris SD from Sync Songwriter. Imagine what it would be like getting your music into the latest TV shows, movies, or ads. Your songs would not only get exposure in front of millions of viewers, you'd get paid to do it and gain a reputation as the songwriter that you are. I've been showing songwriters, composers, and artists how to get their music into TV and film for over 15 years. Collectively, they have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars from licensing their music. Their music has been on networks such as HBO, Bravo, ABC, NBC, Netflix, and more. In films or trailers such as Predator, Annihilation, Christmas Chronicles, Professor Mac, and many others. So many songwriters upload their music to websites hoping to get discovered. Unfortunately, this almost never happens with the millions of songs out there competing for attention. I show you how to get your music heard by the people who can actually make it happen for you. When you start getting your music licensed, you automatically develop a reputation in the industry. This lets you get syncs over and over again. If you'd like to discover how to connect with the right people in music licensing, just click the Sync Songwriter logo on the Business Side of Music webpage, and I'll see you there.
You're listening to the Business Side of Music.
On the phone with us today from Pensacola, Florida, Chad Harvey is with us. Independent recording artist. He is, I guess, for lack of a better term, and I always say this is cool. When you call yourself an Americana artist, it used to be a name that you hung on someone when there was no other genre that you would fit in. But Americana has grown into its own, not only in the style of music, but now it's got a big festival, it's got a big convention every year. Obviously, we've been sidelined a little bit with the pandemic. But when you started performing, was this a style that you picked up on almost immediately, or is this something you grew into, you transitioned into?
When I was still in Southern Indiana and I started listening to Texas guys, and I remember loving this music, and that's the style of music, and especially the Texas country music. Not a lot of people around the Midwest at that time was listening to that. And there was a lot of great things that happened back to back around that time for me. One, satellite radio coming out, and you could listen to the cross country station on XM, and I guess it's the Outlaw station on Siri now. But as soon as that came out, I got it. I had it in the car or my truck. No Depression magazine started printing, which I'm not for sure if you're familiar with them or not, but they were a great kind of alternative country, Americana outlet publication that's just went back in print maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And those outlets, having those mailed to me, and at the time I was living in Evansville, Indiana, gave me a lot of inspiration. And all those things was part of the fact that I just picked up my guitar and threw some whatever I could fit in the back of my truck, and I drove to Austin. I didn't know anybody, and just started playing little open mics and things down there, and really hadn't performed that much at that time in front of anybody, and just went down there to see what it was all about. And it was the best decision I had ever made. I mean, a great experience. But as far as coming back to your question on the had always thought Americana. I think back then I was more. I think it was more called alternative country, but it was all kind of the same thing. But during that whole time, even when my first record came out in 2008, it was definitely this is a to me it was an Americana record. It went to Americana radio. And at that time, I think Americana was really getting well defined. But like you said, it's a different genre these days. Meaning there's a lot more people doing it. The festival's a lot bigger. There's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week music video channel out of Memphis called Diddy TV that's dedicated to this. And there's definitely a lot more people in this genre than there was back in 2008.
When we talk about things like Americana Fest and Diddy TV, all of these things have helped grow this genre, this almost lifestyle of music. When you get out and perform in front of a live audience, and I know that's kind of rare these days of what's going on, but how does your fan base find you? How do they discover you?
I think I've had some really good, I have some really good opportunities that has come up on this last record that came out. We did get play and still getting play on Americana and AAA kind of adult alternative stations around the country, and that's one way. Another way is Diddy TV has debuted. They debuted the Get a Leg Up video this past weekend. They debuted a video for my single Hayburn off the EP. The EP came out in March. I think they debuted the video right around the release date. I can't remember exactly. It was the end of February or March. And then, the social media aspect of things is definitely grown, and it is a great way to grab fans as well. So with all that, and then Spotify, of course, and I've got a team behind me that helps, get my name out and find and get my music out for folks to listen to them. And I think you combine all that. It's one of those things that you just try to get in front of as many people as you can, especially during this time of COVID when you can't get out and play shows, where that would probably be the best. That's the best way to probably pick up people, new fans, especially doing gigs with other bands and such. But that's not an opportunity now. So we're stuck with the tools that we're able to use at this point.
I was going to ask you, talking about being stuck with those tools, how are you getting in front? Are you doing virtual concerts? What are you doing to not only hold on to your current fan base, but hopefully build more fans?
I do my own live concerts on Instagram and Facebook. I've done 4 or 5 Instagram or Facebook takeovers where you basically take over that publication or organization's page, and you go live and play for 30 minutes, which those have been good. I did one of those this week for Nashville Noise, did one for The Boot not too long ago, Americana Highways as well. Those are good too. I think the best thing that has come out of this that I really enjoy, I started doing front shows on my front porch of here in Pensacola back in April. April the 5th was our first one. I can remember that because my 3-year-old's birthday was like 2 days before. We had been talking about doing this. The first one we did was, I think we decided that morning we were going to do it. I pulled up I set up a small PA on the front porch, and I played by myself. In the neighborhood, kind of, we live in a great neighborhood. They all kind of, we probably had it was not announced. We probably had 30 or 40 people watching, nothing big. This thing has grown into something really, really special. My band from Nashville came down last week and played the front porch sessions. We've done back then we were doing once a week, every Sunday. In June, we switched it to once a month on a Thursday, the first Thursday of every month. And we go live on Facebook and Instagram. But this past week, I think we had 250 people out in our front yard watching. Raised, right under $1,000. It's not a lot, but it helps. For $1,000 for National Down Syndrome Society. We pick a charity each month, and that was the one we picked. And then we always have 2 food trucks there. We have an ice cream truck there, and we always pick either a barbecue or a taco truck there as well. So mainly it's around the neighborhood, but it's got out in town as well. So we'll have people drive over, and it's one of those things. We do a 45-minute or an hour set. Usually it's me and a fiddle player now, but like I said, last week the entire band from Nashville was down. We had a good time. It was great.
That's interesting that you're doing that. It shows the ingenuity and the entrepreneurship that artists have to take on these days to reach out to that audience and keep people entertained. And kudos to you, especially with the ice cream truck and the taco truck. I'll be down next week.
Yeah, come on down. I joke I've joked before at those shows saying, it's great doing the front porch shows. It has the best green room and drink selection of any bar I've ever played, and I get to sleep in my own bed at night.
Way cool. And then how long is each performance of that?
We keep it about 45 minutes. We don't get porta potties and go to that level. So we try to start. It's advertised 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time. We try to start playing music no later than 6:15 and wrap up by 7. People might hang out till 8 or so. We don't want to go too late, and the neighborhood be upset, and we want to keep it simple. So we don't want to, it's a fairly short time period.
and your neighbors are cool with that.
We've had nothing but compliments. We get letters and everybody saying, "Man, it's great that you're doing this," which makes it feel that much better.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for one of our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to play a little bit of this song, Get a Leg Up, and we're going to talk with Chad Harvey about how that one came together.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena, and believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message. Thanks.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Chad Harvey's on the phone with us today from Pensacola, Florida. We talk about your career, but let's talk about this single that you have out right now called Get a Leg Up. This was originally a Mellencamp song. First of all, why did you pick that song? And second of all, you took it in a little different direction and made it a duet.
It's funny how this came together. I'd never cut a cover song, but I always thought it would be fun to do. I recorded the Pop Machine out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I work with Mark Johnson up there. He's produced everything I've done. I love working with Mark. I was heading back to Indiana over the summer. Mark and I were talking. This was 2 weeks before I was going to be in town. And I said, it'd be cool to, let's get another song out. Let's do something new and keep this, with the EP just coming out in March. Let's put something else out. I go, well, let's do a cover song. I've always kind of, gravitated to doing a Mellencamp song. And I wanted to do one, of course, that I loved. And second, I didn't want to do one of the standards, but yet something that was still known that I gravitated right to Get a Leg Up. I mean, and that album came out when I was about 15 years old. And I remember that's the first time I saw him live, and I was really getting into his music even more so than I had before. And I don't know if you remember, Bob, or not, but before that, he was really doing that, what I would call one of the first Americana type bands, and the fact that he was bringing fiddle and accordion and all these other instruments into his music with the Lonesome Julie record and the Big Daddy record. And this record went back to like straight rock and roll. He brought in David Grissom, the guitar player from Texas, really made it a rock and roll record. And that, to this day, that record's my favorite of his to listen to. Let's do Get a Leg Up. And we talked about it, doing some different styles with it, doing it a little differently. The song is a dialogue between a guy and a girl, and Mellencamp just sings it solo. How about we do this as a duet? And I asked Marco, do you know anybody in Indianapolis that might be a good fit to do the girl part? That's when he suggested Elena, and I contacted Elena, sent her the song, sent her the lyrics, and crossed my fingers because it is a little bit of an edgy topic. She was on board, and she was great, and she did a really fine job.
Was it something you were planning on doing initially, of doing this as a duet? Is it something that just came together as you and Mark started talking?
Well, I think it came together pretty quick, because I knew we didn't want to do the song straight up exactly like Mellencamp did it, of course. In the style of it, and we tried some different styles and trying to make it maybe a little bit more roots than rock and roll, and it just I missed those guitar parts. And so I would say at first we were thinking about not doing the duet. Let's see if we can make it a little different. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, we can find the right fit. And that was the most important part. Can we find the right fit and the right singer to bring it to where we need it to be to make it really cool? We need to do this as a duet. And, I sat down and basically had the lyrics in front of me and highlighted what I wanted the female singer, which lines I wanted the female singer to take, hoping that we could find that right fit. And Elena definitely surpassed our expectations in the song, in the audio track, and in the video.
I was going to ask, what was the idea for the video? How did that come together?
All this was putting together. One thing I hate, or I think any artist would say that doesn't like about cutting a record, is sometimes it seems tedious and very long, which it is, and it needs to be right and everything. I wanted to do this efficiently as possible. I was only home for about a week in Indiana. My original thought, we were going to cut all the footage in the studio while we were cutting the song and do kind of that live performance with us too. So have some background footage and then us as a duet, footage. That's what we were going to do, and we're doing this all over one weekend. So I was showing up to Indianapolis on a Saturday morning. Mark had already laid down the tracks. I was doing my vocals on Saturday, have Elena come in the next day, do her vocals, and shoot the video the same day, which we did. So it was very long days. It happened quick. But we ended up going to a second location, which is Mike Yantz. He's the video director, his studio, which is in Indianapolis as well. We shot in his studio the duet performance. So, it was definitely only, 2 locations to shoot. But I think the short time that we had to pull it together, I'm very happy with the way it came out.
And with that being said, let's play Get a Leg Up.
Don't look me, don't touch me. Keep your mind straight ahead. Don't get no funny ideas about we. Wish that you were dead. That's what I'm thinking. She must be thinking, girl, I spent $53 on last night. She gives me a look and from a corner of her eye that says, boy, keep acting right. How surprised was I when she leaned over and whispered in my ear, get a leg up. Get a leg over, boy. Yeah, yeah. Get a leg up. What's the matter? Are you shy, shy, shy? I'm pretty good with first impressions, but sometimes I'm not always right. I pulled the car at the shoulder of the road to see what she had in mind. Want me to spend the night? Hey, lover boy, you know I will. And my best girlfriend lives down the road. Together we will thrill ya. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I could be lucky Pierre tonight if I could get a leg up. If I could get a leg over, boy. You know I ain't that handsome, but you know I ain't shy, shy, shy. Oh, damn, baby. The rest of the night went on, and the moral to this song.
Don't go making hasty judgments, because sometimes they could be wrong. Nothing wrong with a good time. Just keep yourself protected. Make a list.
You can bet your life that the women don't know the little girls acting like this, yeah. So the next time a young one moves up and she whispers in your ear, get a leg up, get a leg over, boy. Get a leg up. Now don't you be shy, shy, shy. Get a leg up. Get a leg over, boy. You know I ain't that handsome, but you know I ain't shy, shy, shy. Get a leg up.
Chad, thanks so much for being on the show. Wish you nothing but the best of luck. Get a leg up. What a great song. Where can our fans find you and start following you?
Yeah, and Bob, thanks for having me on. You guys, anybody out there that wants to check out my stuff, you can find me at chadharveymusic.com, and that's got all my social pages on there: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. But that's the best way to find how to get in touch with me.
And what is that again?
chadharveymusic.com.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show.
All right, thanks, Bob.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound design by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.